Chicken Soul for the resume writer's soul. Ready, set, go. Okay, I have 5 things that I think are very important. Now, one thing I think, before I get started, one thing that I think is important to remember is that every person who reviews a resume reviews it from a different perspective. You're going to want to consider that. And also, you need to remember that really there's only one expert, or there's multiple experts when it comes to resume reading, and that is the hiring manager, the person who's operating on the panel, because no matter what, a recruiter or someone who has experience with writing and reading and providing feedback on resumes, no matter what they say, if they're not the hiring manager, then they really don't have the skills that. So a person who's giving you in some advice on a resume is pretty much giving you some best practices based on their experience with hiring managers. So it's important to remember that. And no matter how many, you can talk to 15,000 persons who review resumes, and they're all going to have different opinions on how things work. So you're going to have to get that opinion, but ultimately it's your resume. You got to take ownership of it, and you have to implement those things that you think are important. So, number one thing that I think is important, actually it's not number one, these are not in order, but I think it's very important to make sure that you save your resume as a PDF. I don't know how many times I've opened a resume and I can see all the edits and newer versions of Microsoft Word or other utilities that people use to create resumes. You can see all the edits and red marks and balloons popping out of everywhere, or templates or graphs, all that kind of stuff. Just save it as a PDF. That way when someone opens your resume, they see exactly what it is that you want them to see. Save it as a PDF. You can upload PDFs to emails, to most websites that allow you to upload a resume. Just PDF it, save yourself some time, and also, remember that, if you have all those balloons that say, oh, this person edited this, if I open this resume and I see that you got balloons coming out of everywhere where you edited your resume in certain areas, I might have to assume that you were lying about some things on your resume. It just depends on what you've edited. So remember, PDF it. The second thing is lose the designs. I remember one time, some time ago, I was reviewing resumes, and somebody who perhaps identified as a connoisseur of fine wines decided that since they had experience working at a vineyard or whatever, they would have a wine glass on the top of their, which is probably very, relative to their professional experience, their personal hobbies, but it's just tacky. No backdrops or elaborate headers or anything like that. Just straight resume with your experience. I think that's very important. The other day, this is number 3. Number 3 is that generic is old school. Back in the day, it was sort of like you had one resume and then you had a cover letter that you made changes to based on the position that you're applying. Well, cover letters, I don't know how much time I would spend really reading a cover letter, because what I want to look at is what relevant experience does this person have that would convince me that they're able and eligible to do the job that I need them to do. A cover letter is more like, how well can you write? But people really might skim a resume, but they skim a cover letter, but they review your resume. So it's very important that you do not view your resume as a generic item that sort of goes along with your cover letter. You need to make sure that your resume has all the necessary details that someone who's reading it needs. Okay? Number 4, I think it'd be cool, and I think this is cool. I've encouraged people to do this. Now you can have your own URL that is catered to you through LinkedIn. And I've seen people do this, and I think it's kind of cool to link your LinkedIn account or LinkedIn URL to your resume. So on that top bar where you have your name and your email address, you could easily have your LinkedIn profile URL there. And that way, if somebody wants to know additional information about you, or if they want to review or connect with you on LinkedIn, or perhaps read some of the recommendations that people have for you, I think that's a cool way for them to get to know more about you. But it also means that you have to be careful what you post on LinkedIn, and if your LinkedIn is connected to your Twitter or your Facebook, you have to be very careful that information that could be incriminating is not on any of those sites. So very important to remember. So that was number 4, add your LinkedIn link. Okay, the final thing is that I think it's very important to cut down on that objective. I've seen people in their resume and that objective line right under their name and their contact information is like 5 paragraphs. In my opinion, I mean, just go for 2 or 3 sentences. It's my objective is to get a job in this particular field that allows me to gain XX knowledge, or allows me to implement, some training that I've had, et cetera, et cetera. But to go into great detail about your professional past and all this kind of stuff, like, you need to be cognizant of the fact that you're going to need to change that to cater to the position that you're applying for. And the more you have, the more you have to change every time you apply for a new job. So my advice to you is just to keep it simple. Keep it simple. Of course, people are not really doing the 3- and 4-page resumes anymore. You ought to be able to get everything that you need to get into that resume on 2 pages, 3 pages at the most, but you ought to be able to get everything that you need on 3 pages, because really you're selling relevant experience to that employer. They want to know what experience you have that can enhance the work that is outlined in their position description and required for the job. So keep those things in mind. I'll try to give you some more tips, but you can always go to my website, iamdamo.com, to find out more information. I got some tips on there, as well as additional stuff. So hope you enjoyed this. If you like this, then you should like this and forward it to your friends, and then we'll do more of it. Thank you.